And welcome, sports fans, to today's roundtable. And we have a great show lined up for you today. We're going to get to some results over the past few days here from the area, but we're having a special guest in today. We have Larry Warren. He is the 1974 basketball coach for the state champion Lilbourn Panthers, and he'll be in studio today to talk about that great team back in 1974, the Lilbourn Panthers. And we've got some picks to show and even game footage of the state championship game from 1974. So stick around. We'll have Larry Warren on here momentarily, talk about that great season back in 74. Great show lined up for you today. And also we'll talk about things happening over the weekend here in the area and going forward with the Final Four in college basketball in Atlanta. So glad you've joined us today, and we got a great show lined up for you. And let's go ahead and take a look at some results over the last few days in our area, and taking a look at some high school baseball from Wednesday. We had Scott City over Oran in a close one, 2-1. And also we had Kennett over Crothersville Wednesday, 14-3. Chaffee over Poplar Bluff, 7-5. And also Notre Dame over Dexter in a close one, 4-2. Valley Catholic over Jackson, 3-1. Risco over Delta C7 Thursday, that was 12-3. Also Thursday, Oran over East Prairie, 11-2. Jackson over New Madrid County Central, 5-1. Scott City over Dexter, 8-5. South Pemiscot over Seamuth Hornersville, 9-2. Oran over East Prairie, which I think the previous one wasn't a baseball game. This one was the softball game, 11-2. Oran over East Prairie. And Bernie over Woodland Thursday, 11-1. And also we have softball scores from Northeast Arkansas. Paragould over Rivercrest Thursday, 8-3. And Friday high school softball, we have Southland over Campbell in a close one, 6-5. And those are results from the past few days here in our area in spring sports. And had a pretty good week. The weather cooperated quite well, so we got quite a few spring results, and it looks like it'll be pretty good for this week as well. So we'll see how that plays out for the spring sports. And taking a look at what's happening this weekend in sports today, actually it's underway right now. The BA Sports All-Star Extravaganza taking place out at the Bearcat Event Center, and it's underway. It has been since 9 a.m. with the volleyball game, and they'll continue with boys and girls basketball games later on today. Also, the Bacon Van Vant Slam Dunk and three-point competition. It's out at the Bearcat Event Center. And if you want to check out the rosters, you can go out to bapromotions.com and cmosportzone.com. And also take a look at the Final Four taking place in Atlanta starting tonight. 5:09, we'll have Louisville taking on Wichita State. And following that one at 7:49 will be Michigan taking on Syracuse. And of course, Wichita State trying to play Cinderella, knocking off the top overall seed in the tournament, Louisville. And Michigan-Syracuse, the first time two number 4 seeds match up in the Final Four. So we've got some interesting matchups set for tonight. And the Final Four in Atlanta, the winners advance to the national championship game Monday night on CBS. So we'll be looking forward to those games later on tonight. And take a look at the all-state teams that were released this week. In Missouri high school basketball, we'll start out with the boys. First team All-State, Lorandus Banks of Scott County Central and Kyle Stroder of Leopold in Class 1. In Class 2, Alex Herring of Oran. Class 3, Michael Hull of Charleston and Willie Jemerson of Madrid County Central. And in Class 4, Cavante Mitchell of Kennett and Vashon Ruffin of Sykeston. Those are the boys' first team All-State honors. And for the girls, first team All-State, girls Class 1, Michaela Blissett of Scott County Central. Girls Class 2, Kayla Maupin of Neelyville. Carrie Shepard of South Pemiscot. Now in girls Class 3, Tori Cole of Twin Rivers. And in girls Class 4, Brittany Harris of Dexter. So those are your first team All-State honors for boys and girls basketball this year. And now we're going to take a break, and we're going to be back with Larry Warren. I know many of you have been looking forward to Larry Warren being in studio, the head coach of the 1974 boys basketball Lilbourn Panther state championship team. So we'll be back with Larry coming up.
I want to stay connected to you. I like the way you do what you do. All right, okay, you're fine.
Call Audubell Hearing Center at 1-800-499-8786 or visit one of our locations in Dexter and Poplar Bluff, Missouri today.
I'm a full-time wife and mom, and I also work as a substitute teacher. You can see why it seems impossible to get a college degree, but with Southeast Missouri State University's regional campuses, it really is within my reach. I can get a degree without leaving my hometown, and that's important when you have a family. Getting a college degree isn't easy, but Southeast makes it convenient.
Southeast Missouri Mutual Insurance is celebrating our 100th year. We started protecting rural farmers way back in 1910, ensuring folks no one else would. Southeast Missouri Mutual Insurance has been a family business for 4 generations, and we continue that tradition today, providing solid home, farm, and commercial insurance at very competitive rates. When the ice storm hit us, we were out there with you. All of our claims were processed within days, and we will continue to provide the best coverage and the best service for the next 100 years. Southeast Missouri Mutual Insurance, a century of service.
And now we're along with Larry Warren, head coach of the 1974 Lilbourn Panther State Championship basketball team. And Larry, it's a privilege to have you in today.
Great to be here. Great to be here.
Good deal. And, you know, we look back, we talk about old teams throughout the years here on the Roundtable and here on YHC Sports, and we always talk about these great teams back in the day. Of course, you go to Puxico in the 50s, and, you know, you work up in Lilbourn, the state championships they won in the 70s, and you look back at Scott County Central, Charleston. We're always talking about these teams, so it's great to have you in so we can actually talk about these teams, and actually we've got some footage that we'll show later on as well. So it's a privilege to have you in and talk about these great teams.
Good to be here.
Sure. And let's talk about you first off, how you got into coaching and how your coaching career came along going to Lilbourn.
Okay, it started back when I was in junior high. I planned for a coach, Doyle Dembo, who used to coach the girls here at Dexter even, but it was at Parma. And I admired how he done things, and he was a great mentor for those that played with him. And I said, I want to do that one of these days. So I never had any problem going all the way through school and in college. I knew what I wanted to do. So when I got out, before I got out of college, we lived at Lilbourn, my wife and I got out and we moved to Advent, and I taught the first year at Zelma, and enjoyed it, learned a lot. Found out I didn't know everything I needed to know. And my assistant up there turned out to be one of the best friends I've had in this world, Carl Ritter, who went on to coach at Bell City and had his share of championships also. And after 1 year, a job at Lilbourn opened up as the assistant, and I thought, I'm going to go back there. It'd be good for me. And as it so happened, the varsity opened up the next year, and I was able to take it. And so I spent 4 more years as varsity coach there. Great time. It was my wife's hometown. We had a lot of friends there. Sometimes they say it's tough coaching at your hometown, but we done okay. We were happy with it. And that's how it came about. I had some good backing, great backing in the school business, and administrators and the rest of the faculty, and had some great kids to coach with. I just really enjoyed it.
Good deal. And of course, your time getting the Lilbourn, that's what really shaped your success in coaching. You're only getting coaching how many years?
Okay, I coached, let's see, 6 altogether. One of them was on the JV, 5 years varsity.
Okay.
4 at Lilbourn and 1 at Zalma.
Okay, so you spent most of your time there at Lilbourn, and
Yes.
What? How did it come about? I know you started Lilbourn, and could you see these teams develop, but before your eyes as you're working with these kids?
Yes. The first year I was there, I had the JV, and they were a good ball club. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they only lost 1 or 2 games, and the year before, I think they were undefeated. So we could see it progressing up, and we had players pretty well at every position, and the group that we finally finished up with, or I finished up with, were in junior high, and I could watch them. Now, we go back one step further. In the junior high rank, the coach that was doing all the junior high coaching for me at that time was a fellow that you know and everybody else knows, Joe Baldwin, official. And Joe was always said the best at that level, because that's the only level he worked at, and they never lost. He had them ready for us when they came up. So we knew what we had coming. It was just a matter of keeping it in place, motivating them, and I thought that was my main job. My job was easy. If I could motivate them, these guys played 24 hours a day if you'd let them. So I tried to tell myself, don't go in and change things just because I want to look good or look smart. Let's organize them a little bit and put them in certain places and let them do what they do best. But above all, motivate them to do what should be done. And it worked. It's fine. But we had some good players, and some of them turned out to be some of the best players.
Sure. And we've got some of these pictures. Let's take a look at these. The team picture here, as you see, Larry's there in the back, and they got all your
yeah,
your
that's
guys
me
there.
back there with the long hair and the bow tie.
And the bow tie.
And I don't know, you can't see it too well there. You will in another picture, a checkered jacket that I always call that my Bobby Knight jacket.
Okay.
A lot of people didn't really care for Bobby Knight, but I always marveled him. He was very successful, very fun. I wasn't going to argue about that point, but that was it. I just thought it'd be neat. But I want you to notice of course we'll get to the players in a minute, but the other coach there, the assistant coach, was Coach Bishop, Leonard Bishop. He played at Matthews on the state tournament team. And when he got out of college, we asked him to come help us. And he did, and done a good job.
He's had quite the career in coaching.
Oh, yes. If any of you follow the Miami Heat professional basketball, Chris Boss, one of the better players, played for him down in Texas.
Yep, Dallas Lincoln.
He had a #1 team in the nation at one time.
Mm-hmm.
And but we got along well, and we had a great bunch of players. Of course, I wasn't the only one that had hair. Look down there at the bottom, you see Ernest McFarren with his afro, and some of the other guys, a lot of them got long hair. Coach Bishop, about the only one that didn't have a lot of hair.
Yeah, that's great. And you had a great team, and you even won Coach of the Year honors here with who is this here that won the honors with you?
That's Coach Wilfong. He was the football coach that year at Elmo Scott City, and they run it together. We got those awards at the end of the year, and he had the football coach of the year, and I got the basketball coach of the year. But that comes along with having good players. Mm-hmm. There are other coaches that probably done a better job than I did. They just didn't have the horses to get it done.
Sure. And this is what's neat about this. This coach here's from Scott City, but it was actually Elmo. Okay, Elmo Scott City. I never did know that they had two names there with that school.
Elmo was one section of the town across the railroad track, and the other, but and Scott City was the other, and then they put them together and made it out of one city. But that's the school now.
Yeah, that's great. Getting Coach of the Year honors there in 1974, and here we had to grab this one, Claude McFarren. I know Claude real well, and I had to get that on there. And that's Claude there on the right, and of course yourself there on the left. So that's a good one right there.
That's a good one. And if you notice, the trophy in the very back is the state tournament trophy, the one that's in the trophy case, and the one Claude is holding is the #1 team. Those boys deserved that. They done a good job. They deserved it. Of course, the other one is the Coach of the Year trophy. But Claude is now the marshal at New Madrid. I called him, but I tried to get him to come up here today, but he's in St. Louis, couldn't make it. But he's done well, and I've always been proud of him and those boys. They've been good community leaders. They've worked, they got jobs, they've done real well for themselves.
Yeah, Claude's he's done quite a bit of officiating over the years. He
He
finally
has.
wrapped it up a few years ago. But
Yes, Claude was the captain of our team. He was the leader, and a lot of times I just sat down with him and talked to him about that. And when I needed something said to him or told to him, he'd make sure they understood how it was. He was a senior, and he wanted to go out a winner, and I was very proud for him.
Sure.
Very proud.
Yeah. And some great players you had on this team, and this one that really stands out was it Frankie Robinson?
Frankie Boy, that was his nickname, Frankie Boy. Everybody knew him as Frankie Boy. They didn't know his last name too well. But Frank was a sophomore. First thing I want to mention is he was the first sophomore in the history of the state of Missouri athletics to make All-State in any class. Great players before him never done that. He earned it. I was a little amiss that he didn't get it when he was a freshman. But some of that might have been my fault, because late in the year I held him back a little bit, wanting to bring him on at the end of the year in a better mental attitude. But his freshman year he averaged 16-something a game. He was tough, one of the best shooters, great hands, quick, had a good feel for the basket. And of course, now Frankie was, I'll go ahead and tell this, him and he was a McFerrin. His mother was Claude and Ernest's sister. And Frank lived with them until he was since 6 months of age. So really, they were three brothers on that team. And they were tough on each other. And that made it work. You know, I've heard about the Hansborough brothers being like that. They were very tough on each other. Well, I had three of them. And boy, if one of them started loafing, the other two was on them in a hurry. So that's why a lot of times the coaching was done on the floor, not so much over on my part. I just wanted to make sure I didn't overcoach. Just keep them organized and let them do their thing and motivate them. And
Sure.
they done well. But Frank was very good. Made All-American his senior year. Went on to play at Arkansas State for a year. That's basically about all he played. But he moved to Lincoln and didn't play up there though. But he was a great player. He really was.
Sure. Yeah, well thought of in the past with Frankie Robinson. And take a look at some other picks here. With this one's hard to read here, but this is the bracket for the state basketball tournament, and you all ended up playing Nixa in the finals. I think the Final Four there shows
Yes.
Higginsville and Nixa, also Lilbourn and Montgomery County. And taking a look, let's just start with the teams y'all played starting out. It looks like y'all played, was it Kelly? Kelly in the first round
the second
there.
best team in the state as far as we're concerned.
Really?
They were tough. We beat them 1 point, and the only reason we did is they missed the layup with 3 seconds to go.
Wow.
And we were very fortunate. They beat us the year before about 3 points in the same game. But they were very strong, very tough. Then we played Festus on a Wednesday night after playing on Monday night. That was a tough game, but we come out ahead on that, victorious. Then back then you had to play all 4 games in the same week.
Really?
And so after we won on Wednesday night, we showed up at school, had a big rally. We had to leave that morning. We didn't know who we played, didn't know who we were going to play. Because back then you didn't go scout, and you just didn't have really that much of a dream. You didn't want to spread it that, hey, we're going to go. You didn't want to look big-headed. So we got up to Columbia, and I got talking to Coach Bishop. I said, I guess we need to go get a paper and at least find out who we're playing. And we did, and it scared us to death. We played Montgomery County. Had 6'7", 6'6", 6'4". We had 6'4", 6'1", 6 foot. And I thought, this is not going to be good. But we played. Well, before game time, we were in the dressing room, and one of them said, okay, what's our strategy? I thought, oh boy, this is going to be good. So I don't want to tell them that we're going to do this and this and this to the team. I told them, I said, tell you what, boys, you know what got us here? Let's make them adjust their playing to us. And let's do what got us here. It took us about a quarter and a half, but then speed and everything took over. The size held them, it slowed them down. We beat them on the press and everything, and the fast break, and it turned out that was our easiest game. The next night was a tough. But it's always a new agenda down the road if you hadn't been there before. And we were, of course, scared to death, but as it turned out, it's great. Nixa, good ball club, great ball club, a lot like us, done the same things. We just went at it with them. Fortunately, we come out on top about 6 points, but if we had to play them again, it'd be tough again. They were a good ball club.
Yeah, and speaking to these first few games of the tournament, you played Kelly over at Poplar Bluff.
Yes.
And, you know, we talk about Southeast Missouri basketball now, how it's, you know, in some of these classes, you know, maybe Class 1, Class 2, whoever made it out of here had a good chance of, you know, winning it all if you just got out of Southeast Missouri. Is that kind of how it was back in the day, or is it more parity across the state?
Well, now it's probably more parity in my thinking, but back then there were so many strong teams in Southeast Missouri. And an example is the next year, Lilbourn went back. I wasn't coaching then, but Lilbourn went back and they were undefeated. And we played Notre Dame at Cape. They were ranked number 2 in the state. Mm-hmm. So they didn't get to go. And they were ranked number 2 because we played them in the quarterfinal. Mm-hmm. There was another team, I can't remember now, that was number 5 in the state in our class. So we could have had our own state tournament down here as far as that's concerned. But yes, it's been that way. I think Notre Dame that year would have been a good shot at state championship, as well as Kelly and some others the year before, the year we went. It's just always been that way. And it's just like with Scott Central. They beat some good teams down here and kept them from going that would have had a shot at winning. Mm-hmm. But they just couldn't get there, couldn't get out of here.
Yeah.
We always said if we could get out of Southeast Missouri, we got a shot.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. We finally got out after the third try. And we were blessed.
Yeah, that seems like things haven't changed all that much over the years. It seems
No,
like
it's still tough.
Yeah. And, you know, in the next round, played St. Pius out of Festus at, it looked like, I saw on the bracket there was at Southeast Missouri State, so you played in the old field house?
Old Hawk Field House. We played them there, and it went down to free throws with a few seconds to go, and they were fouling, but we won by, 4 or 5 points. But we were glad to get out of there. We didn't play a real good game that night, and it was one of our, I don't know if it was what it was, but we just didn't get it together that well. Mm-hmm. And very upset at a few times that night, but we got over it, and then we had fun after that. But I was going to say a while ago when you was asking about the other SEMO teams, the next year, what really stood out, not only did Lilbourn win this championship, but Advance won their class, and Charleston won their class. We had 3 of the 4 winners there. Of course, the largest class was the big schools, and we didn't have that much representation. But the first 3 classes, we owned those classes back then.
Yeah.
And for quite a while. And that was quite an event to see those 3 teams. And we had bumper stickers that had state champs, Advance, Charleston, Lilbourn, and had them all over Southeast Missouri on bumpers and on cars and trucks, and that was pretty neat.
Yeah.
But that just showed how strong teams were down here. And they beat a lot of good teams to get there themselves.
Sure.
Sure did.
Yeah. And, I can remember before they went to 5 classes, when it was classes 1A through 4A, which started in '74, this was the Larry's team in '74 was the first year they went to 1 through 4A. Before that, they had the SM and L, small, medium, large.
Right.
So it went to the 4 classes starting in '74, going all the way up to 2002. 2002 was the last year we had 4 classes. Then they went to class 1, 2, 3, 4,
Right.
5, had 5 classes. And by the end of 2002, Southeast Missouri owned the most state championships for classes 1 through 3.
Right.
Scott County Central had the most in 1A. Portageville had the most in 2A, and Charleston had the most in 3A.
Right.
So
Right.
that just goes to show what was down
there was
here.
power. There was a lot of power. A lot of power. And it so happened that after the state finals that night, I had talked to my wife earlier in the year. I was also a high school principal, and it was such a demanding job to be in high school principal and coach also, and especially in the limelight of that situation. I told her, I said, I can't do this anymore. This is just getting too tough. And it so happened that I made that statement to her 2 o'clock in the morning on a night after we had got beat at Sykeston, who had a good ball club, in overtime, and I blame myself for that. That was our first defeat. But when we won that night, I got to thinking, why continue on? What else is there? I knew there was going to be a good ball club next year, and it was. They went undefeated. But it's still going to take somebody to hold them together.
Yeah.
And we had the right guy in the right place. But that was my final night, and I was glad to give it up. It made a 100, and I thought, why do I need to go for 101? Let's leave it at that. And never did look back. I stayed with the high school principalship for another 7 years and enjoyed it, enjoyed the kids, still enjoyed getting around them. That's what made it worthwhile.
Yeah.
Really did.
And speaking of your losses, you only had 1 or 2 losses that year.
We had 2.
2?
Had 2, and they were undefeated the next year.
It was Sykes. You mentioned Sykeston and what?
North Pim.
North Pimlico.
North Pim got us. Down on their court, I mentioned to you a while ago, we didn't lose any on, we called it our pit. When you come to our pit, you're going to have to play a special brand of ball if you're going to beat us there.
Yeah.
But and we did lose a few. I'm not saying that, but we were. It wasn't known that you were going to easily win there. No, that was our court. We owned that.
Sure. And we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to take a look at some footage of the state championship game.
Great.
We've actually got video footage of that game in Columbia. We're going to take a look at that when we come back.
When I was a kid, we didn't have all these wireless devices. We only had one computer plugged into the wall, and we were grateful.
Technology changes fast. Stay ahead with blazing fast internet speeds from New Wave Communications. New Wave delivers the internet with incredible speeds, up to 50 megabits per second. Pick the package that's right for you. New Wave, the area's fastest internet, period.
Kids today don't know how good they have it.
Let's talk about next year. This is the time of year to reflect on last season's crop and make decisions for next season. What mix of crops should you plant? Should you buy new equipment this year or get by another year with what you have? We'd like to help you make the financial side of your planning a little easier. Our ag department knows agriculture and they're local.
Stop by and see us
at First Midwest Bank.
At Glen St. and Kennett, we have a lot full of inventory and the best rebates of the year. I'm Danny Ford, owner of Glen St. We just want the opportunity to talk to you about your next car or truck. The rebates are the best of the year and interest rates the lowest to work with. It's a great time to buy, and our people are excited to help you make the right choice. We realize you have a lot of dealers to choose from, but I can assure you no one appreciates your business like we do. Glen St. and Kennett, and God bless our troops.
And now we're going to take a look at some video footage from the state championship game in 1974 as you all took on Nixa.
Nixa.
Yeah, they're a good ball club. They've
Good
when you
ball
look
club.
into the state tournaments, they're year in and year out.
They're there. They're there. Matter of fact, we played them 3 years later. We played them again for the state tournament final, and they beat us.
Really?
They won. So we 1-1 with them. Yeah.
So yeah, let's take a look at this footage, and this is from the state championship game in 1974 as the Lilbourn Panthers took on the Nixa Eagles, I believe they are. If I can remember correctly, and this is in the Hearn Center in Columbia. And this, if I'm not mistaken, was this the first year of the Hearn Center?
My recollection, I think that's correct. It was the first year for the 2A, and I think the first year for the Hearns. And but it was a privilege to play there. It was big.
And what your players adjust well at the Hearn Center?
It didn't bother them. They'd go and shoot, and they enjoyed playing. And I will have to say, they were a lot of fun. The old boy just made that shot. Old Carl Meadows had moved in that year, and people didn't think he was too good of a ball player maybe at the beginning. But we wouldn't have been where we were at without old Carl. And but everybody played good, hard-nosed man-to-man defense. That's all we played. We wasn't going to get fancy about zones and things like that. But and we run. What's it matter? So they done a great job. There's a lot of fun to play with, and there were many of them. It wasn't just 4 or 5 players. We had a starting 5, but we went at least 3 deep, and wouldn't change the atmosphere of the team very much at all. Matter of fact, on some nights, it made it better.
And who's this hitting the jump shot?
That was Frankie boy right
Frankie
there.
boy.
We never. There's our defense right there.
Yeah.
Right there.
was that
was
Ernest?
a charging foul. It was Ernest McFerrin.
Ernest McFerrin.
I think what really happened, he probably got his hair in the way, and the guy couldn't see where he was going. We always had to give Ernest a couple minutes to get his hair combed at halftime. But he's 5'5". The hair made him look 5'7" or 8. But now he could jump like he was 6'7".
Yeah.
He could get up on them boards. And there was just a lot of good players. Ed Farr done a great job for us all year long. And there's Claude.
That Claude right there with the shot.
And Frank getting the rebound and losing it. But talking about Ed Farr, Ed done a good job for us all year long. He was our big guy we had to go to. And
he wasn't that big, though, was he? Only about 6'2", maybe?
No, he was almost, we called him 6'4". I think we had to stretch him.
Stretch him out.
He didn't weigh 160. He was real thin.
There's a nice block there. Oh, they got him with the foul.
They got him for a foul.
Is that Claude there? Looked like Claude.
Yeah. And there's Meadows. He was a great rebounder. He 6'1", or 6 foot really. He could get up. He took his position. I'm surprised he misses all that many. But I was just looking at the shooting percentages a while ago. Of the first 7 or 8 players, the worst shooting percentage of any of them was 39%. And that was Frankie, but Frankie was called upon to do a lot of things at times when it was tough.
Yeah, you can take that E off there, Rick. No E on Lilbourn there, but
yeah, that was I had a lot of people done that, and but Nixa, not taking anything from them. You can look at them out there. They run the ball. They done the same thing basically we did. They pressed us. They did it with a zone, and they run the ball. They come off a fine.
You can see them, getting some steals here.
Yeah.
And seeing that they actually handled the pressure quite well at times. They can.
That was one thing we taught was try to get the guys to realize we want that other team to press us. Because if they do, we're going to beat you. We're not going to be satisfied getting across the court. We're going to the goal. And if you'll notice, that's what they done. Every time the team was pressing it full court, as you see Funky and Ernest and all of them going all the way.
Yeah, and you see there, that's the end of the clip, 70-64, that final score in that championship game. So not very often you get to see footage that far back, so it's a privilege to actually
we enjoy
show
watching it. And it's a state tournament film. They made it and sent it to us. We didn't film it that night. Of course, this was back when you wasn't doing that very much. And we were just too excited to get there. We forgot about it, to tell the truth. We just didn't think about it. I thought, well, they'll give us a copy. I don't think it's a very good copy. But I told you a while ago, they left out a little bit. In the last minute, we were ahead, and we never really went into a delay game because I told them, you get ahead by shooting and scoring, we want to continue the pressure. Let the pressure be on them, not on us, to hold the ball. Well, Frankie put on a little dribbling exhibition out there and for about 20 seconds and had the crowd standing and going crazy. And what the heck, it was fun. And they didn't show that in that film. They deleted it. And I thought of that the other day when reading about Fred Johnson taking the ball away from him at Oran. Said he held the ball too long. Well, Fred said when the film came in, they had deleted that part. And I thought, okay, they show what they want, they delete what they want. And they've done the same thing to us. I wish they'd showed it. It was kind of funny, but it may not have been the best sportsmanship in the world. But, hey, my thoughts is we earned it, or they earned it, the boys did. Let's have a little fun with it. Not rubbing it in, but enjoy it.
Yeah.
But they were a great bunch of guys. We still stay in touch, and I love every one of them.
That's great, yeah. And, let's talk a little bit about before. I know you spoke to it briefly about going into each game. I know you talked about you played all 4 games of the state tournament within 1 week. Is that right?
1 week. You played your finals of your, then it was original, now it's, I guess, the district, whatever. But on Friday night, if you win, you play Monday. And it was usually at Cape. I'm sorry, Papa Bluff. And then if you win, you play Wednesday at Cape. And if you win, you play Friday afternoon or night, whichever class you're in, at Columbia. And then Saturday night, whichever. And so you didn't have time to do a whole lot. And you didn't want to, we knew who we were playing down here, like Kelly. We'd already played them before during the season. And we knew they were tough. But, so you just had to hurry up and make shift and get there. And we went, like I say, we went up to Columbia. We didn't know what to do. We just got up there. Then we found out who we were playing. I said, okay, let's have fun. And we had a blast. We're the group from down south, if that's what they wanted to say about us, okay. But back then, it's in the paper, and we laugh about it. And after that, it kind of stuck with us. The brand of ball, they used to say down here, run and gun. But then it was shoot, holler, and follow. You shoot the thing, holler, and somebody go follow up on it. And it was a lot of fun,
Yeah.
And,
you're talking about you basically got 1 day in between for your state tournament games, and there's no scouting, like you said. You just basically show up, and then did you have any information on the players at all going into the game, like you wanted to key on this player or that player? Did you have any of that going into each game?
Did on Kelly, because we played them, but Festus, no. Called, and somebody had one coach give me a little information about them. But state tournament, we just went and got a newspaper after we got up there, and I was reading it last night. It was kind of funny. It gave everything about them, and I thought, holy smoke, 6'7", 6'4", 6'7", 6'5", 6'4", and here we're 6'4", stretched, 6'1", 6 foot. But oh, what the heck, let's go. Let's do what got us here.
Yeah. So basically, you're making adjustments on the fly about that player, this player. So
yeah, so you get him, so and so and so and so, and let's go.
Yeah.
Get the ball and let's go. Get it. Nixa made it simple. We watched them up there, and after 3 or 4 minutes, we said, what the heck? They play the same thing we do, and whatever you do, they're still going to do the same thing, so let's just go for it. And we had a lot of fun, And we had some good coaches back then, great coaches, just like now. That has not changed, and the teams are the same. There were some tough teams and still some tough teams.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
And of course, Lilbourn is no more.
No more.
They consolidated with the New Madrid County School District, and it's known as New Madrid County Central now. If all of you out there
County
are
Central.
not familiar.
Coach Bishop went out there and was very successful before he moved to Texas, and they still have good ball clubs. A lot of the players are from around Lilbourn, Howardville area, as well as the other communities. And but wish them all good luck.
Yeah, that was a neat thing about Coach Bishop. He went down to Texas at Dallas Lincoln, and in 2001, he brought his team up to the Riverbend Classic up in New Madrid.
Right.
And of course, on that team, Chris Bosch, and he just wowed everyone in that gymnasium over that weekend, and actually had some other players, and they were one of the top, I think, the top-ranked team in the nation.
Right.
That year in 2001. So that's actually some neat history there as well, him being able to coach Chris Bosch.
Yeah, and and he came from Matthews. That's not a great big metropolis, but good guy.
Yeah.
Well thought of.
So, yeah, and a lot of great history wrapped up in Lilbourn. You talked about them coming back and winning it the next year. Did most of their players come back from 74, 75?
We lost 2 starters from that team, Claude and McFerrin and Ed Farr. But they had a center that came in, and from New Madrid. His family moved over. There wasn't any recruiting. Everybody liked to say, oh, the recruiting going on. No. They moved before the year was over. And but we had some younger fellas that could play the ball.
Yeah.
There was Detral Treadwell, who came in as the other guard, quick, very tough defensively, good as a person as you'd want. And so they were very dedicated, and they went back up, and they won it easily the next year. Of course, we was able to send a scout and find out who they was playing, and we knew what to do the next year. Took the camera, and I got a film of that game that we just turned it on from 20 minutes before game time and never turned it off. It's got everything. Yeah. But so that made it great, and so it was good for them. The next year, they got to their quarterfinals, I guess, and got beat, I think 3 points, something like that. Then had another year they got maybe beaten in the district, I think. But then the next year they got back to number 2 and played next year again. So they had a good run. And it wasn't over after that. They still had some good clubs, but then they consolidated.
Yeah. What year was the consolidation? Was the early 80s?
1980.
80, okay.
That fall in 1980.
Okay, so it had a great run there in Lilbourn in the 70s.
Good run. Had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. That run started basically in 1970. It was a good 10-year run there. And wish we could have provided a few more state champs, but it was interesting. A lot of fun.
Sure was. And it was until, I think, 1988, Madrid won first state championship as a consolidated district in 88. So, and that was a tough run there in the 80s. You had Charleston, Malden, and New Madrid all competing together each year. So
Malden won it
85 and
85.
Charleston had the better decade,
yep.
But it was pretty tough there in Class 3A.
Sure did.
In the 80s. So, well, Larry, we appreciate you coming in today.
Well, I appreciate talking about the guys. This was their show, and they done good, and I'm very proud of them.
That's great.
A lot of people were.
Sure, and it's great to have coaches such as you on with these great teams right here in our backyard. Doing well, as many teams have done well over the past decades here in Southeast Missouri, and it's just great to have people like you to come in and talk about it and actually show it off to all our viewers out there. So it's a privilege to have you in, and we'll be looking forward to more basketball in the future and making more history.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Right. Larry Warren, everyone, head coach of the 1974 Lilbourn Panther State Championship basketball team. And that's all we've got for you today. We appreciate you for tuning in as always, and we'll have some more guests on the shows going out. We're going to do the roundtable through mid-late May. That's when we wrap up for the season, take the summer off, and back in the fall. So we'll have more guests and the roundtables coming up. So glad you tuned in, and we'll see you next week.